So, dear students and faculty members, welcome to all of you in first session, Design Thinking and Innovations. Innovation Ambassadors of WESCOM has planned a series of sessions to create awareness, inculcate entrepreneurial mindset, and bring cognizance about startups, IPR, and the importance of innovation ecosystem enablers and facilitators among students and fellow faculty members. So dear students, today I am going to talk on topic design thinking. Today I will not talk about inorganic chemistry, pharmaceutical analysis. So very innovative topic, that is design thinking. But before moving further, would like to take some reflection on a certain questions. So are you ready for the same? So I just take a reflection. That's great. So here three questions you are observing on your screen. So I am expecting a reflection on all these questions so that I can set tone of my today's talk based on your reflection or based on your percentage. Yes, out of 160 participants, as of now, I got 80 reflections. That's perfect. Very well. I'm happy that each one of you is very attentive over here. The first question, after graduation, would you like to start your own startup or maybe kind of business? Second question is about after graduation, would you like to take up job in creative and innovative field? And third point is about, are you aware about concept, design thinking? So I share a result of this poll with all of you. So dear participants, if you are observing overall trend, so after graduation, would you like to start your own startup or maybe kind of business? So 64% students are saying yes, whereas 36% are saying no. After graduation, would you like to take job in creative and innovative field? Wow, that's 95% are saying yes, whereas 5% are saying no. And third reflection was, are you aware about concept design thinking? And 85% are saying no, whereas 15% are saying yes. That's perfect. So based on this particular percentage, today I can set a tone of my session. Thank you very much for answering or showing reflection on asked questions. So I just de-share these results and we'll talk about our today's session. So design thinking informs, means what is a design thinking, or we will start our today's topic from very basic fundamental or the rationale behind concept design thinking, what it is exactly. So as you are observing on a screen, our title is about design thinking and innovations. And so that I had asked specifically three questions over here related to concept, what is design thinking, then overall your aspiration, related to joining job or maybe the joining any kind of business after your graduation, and prerequisites. So prerequisites so that I can set tone of my today's talk. So majority of students are very new with this particular concept, 84%. So that's very good. So this will be the trendsetter lecture for your journey towards innovator or towards the entrepreneur. I have that kind of confidence. So dear students, first of all, we will talk about design thinking, what it is exactly. So design thinking is nothing but it is human-centered innovation, isn't it? If you see about innovation, so this is a human-centered innovation. It begins with developing an understanding of customers or maybe users' unmet or unarticulated needs, isn't it? So I'm writing keywords over here, that is unmet or maybe unarticulated needs of users, or maybe as we are going to start any new startup or maybe the business kind of activity, or maybe whether we are joining any new creative job portfolio after your graduation in this particular what we can say, the design thinking as, or maybe the design thinker for particular organization. So all these discussion will helpful. So as we are talking about what is design thinking, so what we are saying that design thinking that informs about human-centered innovation, and it begins with developing an understanding of customers or maybe the users unmet or unarticulated needs, isn't it? So that's why we have written over here unmet or unarticulated needs of users or customers, because as we are starting business, so obviously end user will be there. So what will be the overall thinking process to set up our startup or to have a job in this particular field? So kind of thinking that we will talk today. So design thinking minimizes the uncertainty and risk of innovation, isn't it? So obviously question will pop up in your mind, then what is the need of design thinking? If we know our product and if we know the end user of this particular product, then what is the use of this design thinking, isn't it? So the purpose of this design thinking is to minimizes the uncertainty and risk of innovation, isn't it? Risk of innovation. We will minimize risk of our innovation or minimizes the uncertainty of our startup or whatever we are going to give to our customers. So are you getting this particular point, dear students? Design thinking minimizes the uncertainty and risk of innovation. So how will you minimize this? By engaging customers or users through a series of prototypes, isn't it? To learn, test, and refine concepts. So this particular activity we will carry out with the help of customers or users of our system. Right. So human-centered innovation, that is the first point, to meet unmet or maybe the unarticulated needs of users. As we are going to start any startup or maybe we are decided to work in any creative field, so to minimize the risk of innovation as well as the uncertainty, because you know, if we are developing any particular product and that is going to fail in market, So obviously that risk is there in any kind of business or in any kind of overall journey of overall enterprise. So you have to minimize that risk of innovation or maybe the uncertainty towards our own activity. And that innovation we can, or maybe the risk of innovation we can minimize with the help of users or customers, isn't it? So in what way we can take help of customers or maybe the users? With the help of maybe a series of prototypes, isn't it? We will develop various prototype concepts related to our own product. We will see the overall trend of customers. Then we will test and refine our concepts, isn't it? For example, if we decide to go to Kurla station from our institute, just take an example of this particular case so that we can match our design thinking concept. So if we decide to go to Kurla station from our institute, so the first thing or maybe the what kind of thoughts generally pop-ups in your mind related to how to travel from our institute to Kurla station to catch further train or maybe the further journey. So what we are doing, you try to explore the various possibilities, isn't it, to reach Kurla station. Maybe you will think about auto rickshaw, you can give thought about by bus, or maybe as distance is less, so you will take some shortcut and you will reach to Kurla station by walking. If you know that, and if your train is at 5 p.m. or local, you have to catch local at 5 p.m., then accordingly you will plan overall moving from institute to Kurla station so that within 15 to 20 minutes you will reach to station and catch your train. So what are you doing over here in this overall process? You are giving inclusive thought to reach your destination with concrete idea or maybe with a concrete plan and then execute it. And if you know the desired destination, you can just give proper thought and execute it, because here you know the destination. Okay, I have to travel from institute to Kurla station, isn't it? You know the destination. So on a similar line, dear students, if we have a clarity about our own startup, end product of our own business, and if we execute overall channelization of startups through design thinking, I'm sure your own idea or your own startup will never become fail. So one more time we will define design thinking is a new innovative thinking for new problems, isn't it? For example, I am just mentioning that is about new innovative thinking. We are again talking about design thinking, isn't it? New innovative thinking for new problems. Okay. So here I would like to share one famous quote in context to our today's session. And I think you have read, or maybe I think you have seen this quote, that we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. Just read it one more time. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. So Einstein, isn't it, was certainly right. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. In fact, in addition, with the rapid changes in a society, the methods we have previously used to solve many of the problems we face are no longer effective. You just recapitulate the things, then you will realize the importance of this code. So, dear students, we need to develop a new ways of thinking in order to design better solutions, services, and experiences that solve our current problems. Isn't it? So, what is the need to develop better solutions? Experience of our own set of problems. Are you getting this point? So, what is the current need? Now, as we have a latest example that we are facing COVID-19, isn't it? The situation 1 year before and the situation at present is totally different. The way to transaction, the way to carry out the activity has totally changed. Now, today we are talking over here on this online platform, isn't it? If suppose if you are conducting such kind of the session in a pre-COVID era, or maybe suppose if you arrange such kind of session in last year, so maybe the such kind of the situation will not be there. We will take such kind of sessions in a classroom or maybe seminar hall. So what is happening over here? The change is there, and as per change, we have to change our thinking pattern. And this is a rapid change in a society, you know. So the methods we have previously used to solve many of the problems we face are no longer effective. And we need to develop new ways of thinking. For what purpose? In order to design better solutions, services, and experiences that solve our current problems. Are you getting this particular point? So, design thinking steps in with a, or maybe we can say, the newly systematized and non-linear human-centered approach. And this will help us radically change how we go about exploring problems and creating solutions to those problems. So what is design thinking then? So we will just display some illustration over here for better understanding. What is design thinking? So we are using these 5 terminologies: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So design thinking revolves around these 5 terminologies. So it is a non-linear, or maybe the iterative process we can say, that teams use to understand users, challenging assumptions, redefine the problems, and create innovative solutions to prototype and test. So involving these 5 phases, that is empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. And it is most useful to tackle problems that are ill-defined or unknown, isn't it? What we are talking over here, ill-defined problem, isn't it? Or maybe solution. So why this process is useful? When we will filter our process or filter our overall concept of startup or maybe any new idea through these 5 filters, so obviously you will get better results, isn't it? So those problems are ill-defined. We are not getting concrete solution of problems for end user or maybe the customers. So just drop your idea or just drop overall your product, expected product, in these 5 systems or maybe in these 5 concepts or phases we can say over here. So we will explore on these particular phases of design thinking. So as you are aware that the problems designers or maybe the business owners or maybe the engineers, maybe pharma professionals, they are facing the different level of problems, or maybe they are what we can say today are in a whole new level of scale compared to the challenges we have faced in the past few decades. So in a largely globalized world where the changes in economic and natural resources can be felt halfway around the globe, our challenges are becoming more intertwined with the systems that connect us all. To solve the new way of problems we face today and in the future, we need a new kind of thinking, a new approach towards innovation, isn't it? So here we are talking about new approach of innovation apart from our conventional own thinking. So design thinking teams and organizations to have a human-centered perspective and at a scientific approach towards solving a problem, isn't it? Also, a purely technocentric view of innovation is less sustainable nowadays than ever. And a management philosophy based only on selecting from existing strategies is likely to be overwhelmed by new developments at home or maybe abroad. So what we need are new choices, new products that balance the needs of individual and society as a whole, isn't it? And new ideas that tackle the global challenges of maybe the health, poverty, and education. So new strategies that result in a differences that matter and a sense of purpose that engages everyone affected by them. So it is hard to imagine a time when the challenges we faced so vastly exceeded the creative resources we have brought to bear on them. So dear students, if you are thinking about any startup or any business, so the product or whatever the service you are providing, that will be helpful to the society, right? Or maybe it will be related to the education, or maybe it will be related to health. Right. So moving further, you all have the potential, dear students, you all have the potential to do unique things which are helpful. Maybe either it will fit socially or maybe the economically. And unique innovative approach is a need of 21st century. There is a need to think every aspect differently and explore the new solutions of a same problem, isn't it? I'm talking over here the new solution of a same problem. Problem is there, solution is there, but you have to find out the alternatives of different solutions which are good or which are comparatively good as per the conventional thinking pattern. And if you see the overall design thinking as a strategy for innovation, and if you are comparing with various multinational companies, so let us say we will take a couple of examples related to design-led companies, isn't it? For example, I am not mentioning the companies, I am mentioning about design-led companies. Means what? The organizations or the institutions who have given importance to design thinking rather than their conventional way of business or the conventional approach. What is the success rate of such kind of the organizations? And if you have to work for such kind of the organizations, so number of possible opportunities you can explore in this design thinking area. If you have that kind of creativity and if you have a rationale behind this particular overall concept. So let us, as you know, the various companies like Apple or maybe the Pepsi, these are the well-known companies, or maybe Procter and Gamble, or maybe SAP. SAP is also one of the organization, isn't it, that provides software solutions to overall a business, SAP, isn't it? So this is also a software providing company, and you know, almost 80% revenue of overall world touch this particular SAP or maybe the software providing companies, 80%. To see the overall design thinking or the design thinking pattern of this organization to set up their own softwares. So here I am talking about 80% revenue is getting touched through this SAP. This is a software providing company. Means all these companies, they have outperformed, isn't it? And maybe suppose if you are talking about the NSE or maybe the Sensex, Nifty, or maybe we are talking about some S&P indices is one of the index, isn't it? Suppose I don't know whether you are aware with this S&P 500. So I just write over here. So this is a one kind of index only. So I'm just mentioning over here S&P 500. What we are talking over here? Here we are talking about the companies which are giving importance to design thinking pattern. So their overall trend in market has increased tremendously. So here we are saying that the S&P 500, this is nothing but that measures the stock performance, isn't it? S&P is nothing but that measures the stock performance of 500 large companies listed on a stock exchange, and it is one of the most commonly followed equity indices. So the point I would like to make over here is that design-led companies, isn't it, they have outperformed the S&P 500 or whatever the stock exchanges indices about 200%. Means that highlights the distinction between design and design thinking, and how the design thinking, if executed properly and strategically, that can impact the business outcomes and results in a real competitive advantage. So when design principles are applied to a strategy and innovation, the success rate for innovation dramatically improves. So design-led companies, whatever the examples we have just spoken, that is Apple, Pepsi, or maybe just take an example of IBM, they have outperformed over a 10-year period. If you check their overall profile of companies, they have outperformed over a 10-year period by an extraordinary about 200% according to the design value index created by Design Management Institute. Right? So a great design has that wow factor that makes products more desirable and services more appealing to the users. Are you agree with these things? For example, great design, suppose this is an immediate reaction. Suppose if you are talking about any service or any product, so what we can say, the wow factor, yeah, that's perfect, very great, wow, it's amazing, isn't it? So great design is that wow kind of factor that makes products more desirable and services more appealing to the users. So dear students, what is designing then? Anybody would like to share thought over here based on our discussion or maybe whatever we have exchanged? Anyone would like to contribute? So what is designing then? As we have seen the overall trend. So according to you, what is the designing now? So suppose if you are saying the designing a product, or maybe the, what is your takeaway, or what did you understand, and or how will you define, or maybe how will you talk about this concept? Suppose I'm asking just one question over here. What is designing? Anyone? Yes. Now here I am observing 190 or more than 190 participants. So anyone would like to share your takeaway? What is designing then? Yes. Or shall I take name now?
A plan or a working on a
Okay.
product or something what you have to launch
Okay.
or plan made.
That's perfect reflection. Any other student would like to contribute over here or share your own thoughts? See, I am not expecting over here 100% correct answer, because this is a different concept. We cannot define designing because perspective will be different, isn't it? Thought process will be different. But if we have to fit certain definitions under a banner designing, so what is your takeaway? So as
So
you said,
designing may be related to how to present a product in the market, or how to make sure that it is appealing to the consumers.
yes, very perfect reflection. I'm really happy. So moving further, suppose if you are talking about designing, it is a more than creating products and services, isn't it? This is not a mere thinking that we have to just create product, or maybe just give any kind of service. Design thinking is not limited to this particular concept. It can be applied to systems, procedures, protocols, and customers' experiences, isn't it? So I'm just mentioning these four parameters, that is systems, procedures, or maybe what we can write over here, protocols, or maybe the customer experiences, isn't it? Protocols and our customer or maybe user experiences, isn't it? So designing is what? This is not just we have a kind of product or service for our customers. So whatever the product we are delivering from our own business, from our own startup, or maybe if we are working in any organization who is solution provider, so in what way we can create some portal, or maybe there's some kind of software, so that can provide, or that will pass through the systems, procedures, protocols, and customer experience. So we have to consider these 4 points, or maybe the 4 pointers, so that our success rate will be better. So maybe design is transforming the way leading companies that create the value. The focus of innovation has shifted from being engineering driven to design driven, or maybe from product centric to customer centric, or maybe from marketing focused to maybe user experience focused, isn't it? See, the trend is changing now. So gone are the days. Now we have to think about product centering, we have to change the thinking from the product centric pattern to the customer centric. We have a product, it's okay, but the customer is not satisfied with whatever the service or maybe the product we are giving, or they have some glitch, or maybe they have some barriers that is not user friendly. Then at that time we have to change the process or maybe the procedures and make it from product centric to customer centric, and from marketing focused to user experience focused. We have to take the survey frequently. Okay, what are the changes are expected? Because for an increasing, nowadays, design thinking is at the core of effective strategy development and the organizational change. So what will be the distinction between design and design thinking? What will be the distinction between design and design thinking? Suppose I am asking another question. Design and design thinking. How will you differentiate or how will you distinguish between design and design thinking? Anyone would like to share views over here?
Sir, just like a thought, maybe design
Yes.
is design is about thinking like the actual product or something that actually exists, whereas design thinking is maybe creating systems or procedures for the design process which will later occur. I think this might be what it is.
Yes, yes. Very perfect. I will pick up same point for discussion on this design and design thinking. Who is this fellow? Yes. Anyone know?
Apple founder Steve
Uh,
Jobs.
yeah, perfectly. Steve Jobs, isn't it? What Steve Jobs said? Most people make the mistake of thinking design is what it looks like.
It is how it works.
Yes, that's perfect. Means people think it's the veneer, or maybe that the designers are handed this box and told, make it look good. Means that is not what we think design is. It's not just what it looks like and feels like. So design is how it works, isn't it? How it works. This is not a feel effect. So this is a famous talk of Steve Jobs, and from that he is saying the same thinking or the same pattern. Okay, design is not means what we think design is. It's not just what it looks like and feels like. So design is how it works, isn't it? Also, the design thinking can be described as a discipline that uses the designer's sensibility and methods to match the people needs with what is technologically feasible and what is viable business strategy can convert into the customer value and market opportunity, isn't it? So thinking like a designer brings together what is desired from a human point of view with what is technologically feasible. It's okay, टेक्नोलॉजी हाईफाई है, but टेक्नोलॉजी हाईफाई रह के भी चलेगा क्या? No, it should be economically viable also, isn't it? So that our product should be consider inclusiveness of overall society. So this technologically feasible hai, but economically viable nahi hai, so that also doesn't work. So it also allows the people who are not trained as a designers to use creative tools to address a vast range of challenges. So design thinking draws on logic, imagination, your intuition, and systemic reasoning to explore the possibilities of what could be and to create the desired outcomes that benefit the end users or the customer. So a design mindset is not a problem focused, isn't it? अगर आपको ये पर्टिकुलर फील्ड में करियर करना है, डिजाइन थिंकिंग अबाउट कंपनी, तो व्हाट शुड बी योर माइंडसेट? दैट इज इंपॉर्टेंट, isn't it? So design mindset is not a problem focused, isn't it? It's solution focused. Are you getting this particular point? Solution focused approach is necessary. ठीक है, solution भी आपने दे दिया, but what is most important or what is needed? Action on that, isn't it? That is action oriented, for example. So no, it involves both analysis and imagination. So design thinking is linked to creating an improved future and seeks to build ideas, unlike critical thinking, which breaks them down. Problem solving is making something go away. Creating is bringing something into being. Design thinking informs human-centered innovation and begins with developing an understanding of customers or users' unmet or unarticulated needs. And the purpose of design, ultimately, in my view, is to improve the quality of life for people and the planet where we are living, isn't it? So what is the driving force behind this design thinking process? What is the driving force behind this design thinking process? You know, the biggest driving force is the accelerated rate of change in business and society caused by advances in technology. As companies become more software driven and the rate of change is increases, and so does the complexity is also increase, isn't it? So most organizations, most companies are optimized to execute and solve the stated problems. Creativity is about finding the problem worth solving. An absence of a scalable creative framework encourages incremental innovation in lieu of disruptive innovation. And as a company strive for disruptive innovation, they must find ways to inject and scale creativity across their organization, isn't it? So as you know, the digital transformation in post-COVID era, we are observing that digital transformation is about the accelerated disruption of business models and requires a mindset shift from problem solving to problem finding. And those who want to work in this particular setup, they need to be visionary leaders, from establishing an internal culture that encourages ideation, creation, and iteration to building strategic partnerships to create new value propositions. And you know, dear students, design thinking is a best tool for sense making, meaning making, simplifying processes, and improving customer experiences. And additionally, design thinking minimizes the risk, reduces the cost, and improves the speed. And the most important, to handle the human resource. That is the most important point over here. And so if we have a design thinking in our own setup, so that energizes the employees, isn't it? So see the advantage of design thinking, that minimizes the risk, reduces the cost, improves speed, and energizes the employees of organization. You know, so design thinking provides leaders with a framework for addressing complex human-centered challenges and making the best possible decision concerning. So redefine the values, reinventing the business models, shifting markets and behaviors, organizational culture change, then complex societal challenges such as health, education, food, water, and climate change. Now, this post-COVID scenario has given a lot of opportunity to rethink again on health sector, on education sector, our food sector, water and climate change. Now, what is the food pattern? Now, for example, in a lockdown era or maybe in a current situation, restaurants are closed, isn't it? Fixed timing is there. They are not allowing us to eat food over there. Now the delivery system is there. You can order the food and the home delivery will be there. So now this is a change in societies, change in a pattern. And in this changing scenario, in what way we will sustain us? Because of all these situations, we should not feel frustrated or we should not feel somewhat demotivated. The thing is that you have to find out the different challenges. You have to accept these complex societal challenges and give a different thinking or different thought process. And we can work in a different way on all these sectors. And these are all the common sectors: health, education, food, water, isn't it? So we can apply the different thinking process. And only thinking, giving problem is not sufficient, but the action oriented or maybe the action is needed to implement or the execute to get a fruit of our thought process, isn't it? So design thinking succeeds when it finds ideal solutions based on the real needs of real people, isn't it? So people need their interactions with technologies and other complex systems to be simple, intuitive, and pleasurable. When done well, human-centered design enhances the user experience at every touch point and fuels the creation of products and services that deeply resonate with the customers. So design is empathic and thus implicitly drives a more thoughtful human approach to business. So are you getting these overall concepts? So what will be the framework for design thinking? So what will be the overall framework? Suppose I am mentioning the point over here, or I am asking you now based on our discussion, what will be the framework of design thinking? Yes, anyone? Now you got somewhat concept related to design thinking. Now we will talk about what is the overall framework of design thinking that revolves around the five codes or maybe the five parameters. Yes, anyone? See, when you are facing uncertainty, it's essential to have a structured thinking process to guide your journey, isn't it? What I'm mentioning over here, structured, isn't it? Structured thinking process that is needed. Means design thinking offers a structured framework for understanding complexity and pursuing innovation. Means a new business concept derived from observing the customers is actually a hypothesis, a well-informed guess about what customers desire and what they will value. So rapid prototyping provides the means to place small bets on a hypothesis and test it out before investing in expensive resources, isn't it? So you have to check and retest what is the need of customer, and accordingly we have to process the overall journey. Means, for example, suppose I am mentioning that is like a ZAS. Design thinking is also like a, for example, I am mentioning word over here that is the ZAS. What is the ZAS? Yes, design thinking is like a ZAS. Suppose I just put one image over here for your understanding, so that you will get about what is a ZAS exactly. Suppose I am saying design thinking is like a ZAS. Just have this particular image over here. So what it is exactly? Anyone would like to contribute or share over here on this particular framework of design thinking based on this particular image or maybe the caption? Anyone, please? Yes.
Sir,
Yes.
Maybe, sir, it has to be changed according to the time, means according to the scenario of the market. We
Yes.
need to change our critical thinking.
Yes.
Like you have said, nowadays we have shifted to a thinking where we are finding the problems rather
Yes.
than finding the new solution of the existing problems.
Yes.
So maybe this is the thing.
That's a perfect reflection. That's a perfect reflection. Anybody would like to add over here? See, here we are saying that a framework of design thinking is like a jazz. And you know, as you are observing, jazz is nothing but the structure that offers a basic melody from which you can improvise, or maybe what we can say over here, as you are talking about the brass and woodwind instruments and piano are particularly associated with the jazz. Jazz means what, you know? This is a combination of all the instruments, isn't it? For example, if you are observing over here, guitar is there, piano is there, violin is there. So this is a combination, or this is a perfect blend, isn't it? So why this perfect blend is needed over here? Because the brass and maybe the woodwind kind of instruments and piano, these are particularly associated with jazz. Although maybe the guitar and occasionally violin are also used, isn't it? So the structure offers a basic melody from which you can maybe improvise. But like any art form, you need to master the basics first, isn't it? When we will use these particular combinations, now for violin, special expertise required. For maybe piano, special expertise required. So what we are trying to say over here that is that you need to master the basics first, isn't it? Anytime you are trying to change people's behavior, you need to start them off with a lot of structure so they don't have to think, isn't it? So lot of what we do is a habit, and it's hard to change those habits. So by having very clear guardrails or having a very specific track, we help people to change their habits. And then once they have done it 20 or 30 times, then they can start to play jazz as opposed to learning how to play scales, isn't it? So the framework designed for creativity at work integrates the design thinking principles with classic creative problem solving. So creativity is a central to design. So it includes artistic processes to find aesthetic ways of knowing, to stimulate the imagination and assist in sense making and meaning making. So design thinking is an iterative, non-linear cycle which involves developing a deep understanding of customers or users' unmet needs. I'm again repeating same thing. So how will you implement this design thinking? Design thinking is a journey of learning and discovery. It's also a way of being. If you are strategizing, you are designing, isn't it? So implementing design thinking. See, now it's 11:30, but I can I ask to Prachiti madam, shall I continue for further 10 minutes so that we will complete this particular overall concept. So you know, in design thinking is a journal, or maybe the what we can say the literature, or it's also a way of being. How will you start implementing the design thinking? For example, I just mentioned over here the few points about implementation of design thinking. You know, start at the beginning. Learn how to be a design thinker from a seasoned practitioner. Look for ways to add quality or maybe the value to your offerings. Build your creative confidence by conducting low risk experiments. I'm not saying that at a high level or at a high scale you can launch your product. Build your creative confidence by conducting a low risk experiments, such as designing a meeting with your team. Ask questions which you don't have answers for. Learn how to coach and facilitate for creativity, co-creation, and collaboration. This is crucial for creating a safe space for conceptual risk taking. Stay focused on the user's experience. Help teams unlock provocative insights, reframe existing problems, and generate ideas in response to your research. Encourage multiple perspectives. Reframe the constraints into opportunities and check the assumptions. So definitely, I'm sure you will succeed in your own startup. And in conclusion, here I would like to say the same thing again about these 5 phases: about empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So what way it will work, that the 5 practices that enable the innovation, that include the development of a deep empathic understanding of user needs and context, that is empathize. The formation of heterogeneous teams, isn't it? Here I am saying about formation of heterogeneous teams, isn't it? What I am talking over here, for design thinking or having a structured thinking process, heterogeneous thinking pattern is necessary. That is not the case that all the same thought process people are coming together and they are giving the innovative solutions. So that set of person or maybe the set of resource you are using should have a heterogeneous thought process. At that time only your organization or your own startup will become succeed. So the formation of heterogeneous teams, then maybe the dialogue based conversations, the generation of multiple solutions we know through experimentation, the use of structured and facilitated process is necessary, isn't it? So as you know, for example, I already told you that how will you scale this design thinking, and many of the organizations are working on the same. P&G is there, IBM is there, Cisco company, also the SAP. So all they are working on this particular organizations or maybe the overall setup. Suppose another example I would like to give over here, that one more famous personality in India. So here I would like to give, or maybe, in fact, I would like to ask you, do you know her, or do you know who is she? Yes? Anyone? Anybody knows?
Indra Nooyi, CEO of PepsiCo.
Yes. When Indra Nooyi was the chairman and CEO of PepsiCo company, her tenure was from 2006 to 2018, isn't it? She decided the company needed to rethink its innovation process and design experience. And it's much more than packaging, isn't it? ऐसा नहीं कि पैकेज में आप नया पैकेजिंग बदल दिया तो प्रोडक्ट अलग हो जाएगा, like that. That is not the case. So she realized, so it's much more than packaging. And one interview in Harvard Business Review, that Indra Nooyi told that she hired one employee for the Pepsi first ever as a chief design officer, isn't it? See the designation, chief design officer. And what is her portfolio? Placing the design thinking at the core of business strategy and leadership. And now the teams are pushing design through the entire system, from product creation to packaging and labeling, to how a product looks on the shelf, to how customers interact with, isn't it? And also the SAP company that describes its design thinking journey as one that develops from a set of tools to methodology to a mindset, and until finally become a culture. And towards the last, I would like to say that maybe design thinking, this particular process has identified 4 critical success factors when implementing the design thinking. So which are the success factors to implement the design thinking that we will discuss, and then we will stop. So which are the success factors to implement the design thinking? The first important factor, or the first point here I would like to add for discussion, is about leadership, isn't it? Second success factors for implementing the design thinking or the overall process is about people. Third point is about process. And fourth point as a success factors when implementing the design thinking is about, maybe we can say, about environment. Isn't it? So these are the 4 points. Suppose I am mentioning here. So leadership, people, process, and environment. So dear students, what is the leadership then, or why, in what way it will contribute in the overall journey of this design thinking process and implementation? Leadership link design thinking initiatives to your strategic goals, that provide the direction, that give the resources and commitment. Whereas people enable the champions to lead the change through the successful lighthouse projects, build up an internal design thinking community where the best practices are shared. Whereas process use the generic design thinking framework but evolve the method and tools so they support your business or maybe the startup objectives. And the most important factor is about environment. Develop and create the collaborative workspaces for your workforce, isn't it? Used to co-innovate with your customers and the partners. So that is about overall success factors when implementing the design thinking process. So towards the end, design thinking works because it is a collaborative, co-creative process, isn't it? Grounded in engagement, dialogue, and learning. When you involve the customers and or maybe the stakeholders in the process of defining the problem and in developing solutions, you have a much better chance of gaining commitment for change and getting buy-in for your innovation. So dear students and faculty members, I think we should stop over here. Thank you very much. You have attended this session. It's almost now 1 hour 15 minutes. So thank you. If you have any doubt, any suggestions, or if you have any thought process to discuss, so I am always available. So just give a call, or maybe we can talk on any mode of communication.